welcome to the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast. My name is Nikki. I'm also known as Knitting with Cat Hair on Instagram and Cat Hair Knitting on Ravelry. I'm coming to you from Sudbury, Ontario, Canada, where I live with my partner, our 2 daughters, and our 5 cats. So a big warm welcome to all new viewers and a big welcome back to all returning viewers. This is primarily a knitting podcast. However, I do sometimes talk about some of the other crafts I'm getting into, such as cross stitch and crochet. So I hope everyone is doing well. It's been about 3 weeks, exactly 3 weeks since my last podcast. And there's been quite a bit of knitting. And I'll do a few admin things right up front. So I just want to mention that we do have a knit along happening in the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast group on Ravelry. It's the Around the World Mal 2021. And all of the details can be found in the Ravelry group if you'd like to join in. There's still plenty of time in this trimester, 2 more months to go, so plenty of time to jump right in. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to shoot me either a DM on Instagram or a message on Ravelry, and I'll be sure to answer you. So the other thing I wanted to mention is that we have now reached the 1 year mark for my podcast. I started the podcast in 2020, February 13th, I believe was the initial date and the beginning of my awkward start to this podcast. I think I've come a long way since then, so it's great. It's been quite the learning experience and I've enjoyed it so much. And we've now reached 300 subscribers, which is a milestone of its own. So I'm thinking I will be doing a giveaway. And I think what I'll do this time around is you can win a pattern off of Ravelry. I think I'll do it that way. That way I don't have to ship anything and worry about shipping and stuff like that. So stay tuned. I will announce there will be a skill testing question as well as a prompt, and I will announce those at the end of the making content. So stick around. And if you haven't already subscribed, please make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of my videos. And yeah, so I think for admin, that's about it. So we'll move into the knitting talk. What I'm wearing. I'm currently wearing my Wool and Honey, which is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I finished it last year. I want to say, I think it was in March or something like that of last year. And I've been wearing it a lot. It is probably my most worn knit. Other than socks. I do wear socks a lot. But yeah, I just love this sweater. And I should mention, I will put links to everything I talk about in the down bar below. So if you'd like to visit my project page for more details on the sweater, please do so. Okay, so moving into finished objects. I have kind of 2. I would have had more. Okay, so firstly, I'll set this up with the story behind it. So my daughter, I knit her a cable hat last year. As per her request, she wanted a black cable hat, the same as my gray cable hat that I had. And she wanted a pom-pom on it. So I knit her that hat and she subsequently lost it a few weeks ago. A week ago or so. Anyway, so she needed a new hat and she wanted another black one. She wanted the exact same one, but I couldn't find the yarn. So the yarn I used, I think, was just, it might have been like an Estelle or something like that. It was a combination of wool and acrylic. And I just wasn't able to find it. Nothing was open. We're still in lockdown. So my only option was Walmart. So I had to go there because I don't have black yarn in my stash, I've discovered. So we went to Walmart and I purchased this Lion brand Woolies Thick and Quick. So it's a super bulky yarn, and I think it's an 80-20, 80% acrylic, 20% wool. So then I proceeded to knit her a hat. So the first hat, it was a thicker yarn than the one I used for the original hat, so I couldn't make her the exact same hat. But we found another cable pattern, And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, so I knit that up. I got about 2/3 of the way through. She tried it on and decided she didn't like it. So I ripped it back out. I then said, okay, here's a list of free hat patterns on Ravelry that use super bulky yarn. Tell me what you want. So she picked a ribbed hat. It was literally just like, I think it was 2x2 ribbing. That's it, the entire hat. So then I proceeded to make the 2x2 ribbed hat, and I finished it, and I was getting her to try it on all the way along. She said she liked it. I put the pom-pom on and everything, and then she wore it, like tried it on in front of the mirror, and decided that it was one of those hats that you fold up the brim, and decided that the brim was too thick and she didn't like it like that. So no, she didn't want that hat anymore. So I ripped out that hat, and then I said, okay, you know what? You don't like the feel of ribbing on the inside. You don't like the cables. We're just going to go simple stockinette here. So I told her I had to put some ribbing around the bottom because it needs to hug to your head to stay on properly. And then the rest will be just stockinette. It'll be a real simple hat. So this is what we made. It's showing up a bit brown in the picture here, but it's actually like a charcoal, dark blacky gray with a matching pom-pom. Okay, so I finished this hat. Now I'll mention that this is the third hat, well, I'll say 2 2/3 hats completed in less than 24 hours. Yeah, super bulky yarn goes fast. But still, I was knitting like a mad woman because we were gonna go sliding the next day and I needed her to have a hat for sliding. So anyways, yeah, the verdict is in and she's not impressed with this hat either. So I've given up and I basically put my mommy foot down and said, you're wearing the hat. I don't care. I'm not making another one. I'm done. So I make her wear it, but she's not happy about it. And the whole reason is because of the ribbing. She doesn't like the feel of the ribbing for some reason. But anyways, so that's my finished object. The only one I have to show you, although there were 2 2/3 ones. Okay. So moving on, I also have a finished object fail. So as many of you know, I was working on a Swallowtail sweater. The pattern is by Jamie Hoffman, also known as Knitosophy. And it's this beautiful colorwork sweater. And it has a swallowtail butterfly in the middle. It's got this lovely colorwork on the sleeves and at the bottom on the hem. And I mentioned in my last podcast my concerns about the body and how I was worried that I didn't go down enough needle sizes when I got to the the non-colorwork part. Well, I was right, and I will pop in a picture to show you why. Yeah, so several people did contact me and recommend that I try washing and blocking the sweater first. But judging by the significant difference between the colorwork and the non-colorwork sections, I have decided to not even bother going through the washing and blocking because I know it's not going to work. Like there's just too much of a difference. And even if I could block out the bottom colorwork so that it was kind of the same width as the non-color work, I'd end up with like a triangle shaped sweater, and I don't want that. So I am going to rip back and redo from here down, which I don't know. You know what? For putting so much work and effort into this sweater, yes, I'll have to put a bit more effort in, but at least I know that I'm going to love the end product and it's something that I'm going to want to wear because I really don't want to spend a whole bunch of time on something and then not be wearing it. And I love the sweater. So yeah, just to refresh, this is knit out of Georgian Bay Fibre Co. yarn, which is a local hand dyer to me here in Sudbury. The colorways are Lichen. This natural colorway is vintage lace. This dark brown is called wrought iron, and the rust is called Nobel rust. And this is knit out of her Bayfield fingering yarn, which is a 100% non-superwash BFL. And it's been lovely, as I mentioned, to knit with. I've loved every second of it. So I'll just get to enjoy it for a little longer, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of next up on my to-do list, is to rip that out and redo it. Redo the body. So that's my tale of woe. So let's move on to my newest cast on, and this was kind of in, I guess, retribution of my Swallowtail experience. So I decided to cast on a Jennifer Steingass pattern. It was knit.love.wool on Instagram. So I have casted on for the Telja. I'll pop a picture in so you can see what the finished sweater looks like. And I was playing around with some colors of Lettlopi. And I finally settled on these 4 colors. So I'm trying to remember the color names. I think this one is Straw. Yeah. This rusty color is called Rust Heather. There's like a yellowy green in here. This is called Golden Heather. And then the green at the end is called Celery Heather. So yeah, those are the 4 colors. I did post kind of a color testing swatch on Instagram at one point, asking for people's opinions, and I had a couple different color options. And yeah, I was surprised to learn how many different opinions there are when it comes to color work. Like, there was no real consensus in terms of what colors I should use. So I think that's really interesting. It just goes to say like how individualized, I guess, color work is. Yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So I ended up watching a video that Bella of 100 Acre Wool podcast had posted. And it was about her way of choosing colors, I believe, for, was it for a specific, I can't remember if it was for a specific pattern or it was just like her process and how she does it. So it's essentially, I'll link it down below, but essentially she uses an app where you can import a picture and then replace that, replace the colors with colors that you want to see if they work or whatever. Anyways, I used, because I have an Android phone, I used Sketchbook, I believe it's called. I'm going to pop in a picture to show you how I, or the 3 different color combinations I came up with using this program, because I think it's pretty cool, and I will definitely be using it again. It did give me a good idea or good sense of which colors I'd like to go with. So yeah, I'm just going to pop in a quick picture just so you can see what it looked like. And I do recommend that process as well. It was a little bit time consuming, but I think well worth it in the end. The other option obviously is just to knit a swatch and see, but I liked the idea of seeing the entire sweater as a whole. Well, it wasn't the entire sweater, but was the most with the yoke. Because doing a test swatch, you know, I just did like one sample section, and it doesn't give you the full picture. It really doesn't. So I really liked this process, so I do recommend it. I'll put links down below to everything I've mentioned. Yeah, so this is the Telja, again, being knit up out of Istex Lettlopi. This is my first time using the Lettlopi. I love it. It's a rustic wool for sure, but I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. It won't be my last Lettlopi sweater either, so. Okay, so that is my Telja. I'm doing the sleeves 2 at a time as well. This is my first time doing sleeves 2 at a time, but I figured if I could do it with socks, it wouldn't be so bad. And then I get them both done at the same time. No sleeve island, really. Or second sleeve syndrome, if that's a real thing. And I'll know that they're the exact same length and I don't have to count. And oh, I will say that when I did do them 2 at a time, I started them separately. I did the ribbing, just like with socks. I always do the ribbing kind of individually and then In this case, I actually did the color work individually as well, because I was worried about, sometimes I'm not able to pull as tightly, like I get kind of like ladders. Anyways, I just didn't want to screw up my tension, basically. So I did the color work portion first separately and then put them both on the needles. And now it's just knitting in the round, stockinette, increasing as I go. So yeah, and that is housed in this adorable little fox bag that I got from My Needle Crafts, which is a Canadian shop on Etsy. I'll put a link down below. It's just so sweet. It's nothing fancy, like it's, there's no pockets. I don't think there's any pockets in it or anything. Let me double check before I say that I lie. There is a pocket. There's one little pocket. And it's got this little handle. But yeah, it's very cute. I like it. So that's my new cast on. And then the other, I didn't do any work on my socks. This is what happens when I say I'm going to have a pair of socks done in 2 weeks. I get ahead of myself and then I just don't do it. So I'm not going to show my socks this time around. But I have been working on my Soiree, and this is being knit up as part of the Around the World Mal that we're housing in the Knitting with Cat Hair podcast group on Ravelry. So, sorry, I'm just getting organized here. Okay. Try and show you where I was before. So this is the Soiree. It's a pattern by Emily Foden, who's a Canadian knitwear designer and yarn dyer. And it's an oversized boxy sweater that has this lovely detail up the sides. So there's my marker from last time. I did a couple inches. Yeah, it's got this lovely cabling and then honeycomb in between. And then the front and back are just, oops, hold a second, I'm dropping my stitches. The front and back are just stockinette, so I'll fix those later. But yeah, I'm loving it. And it's so nice to knit with because it's actually a sock yarn, Lichen and lace sock, which is an 80/20, I believe, held together with a Lichen and lace mohair. And it's so soft. It's such a contrast to the Lettlopi, which is such a rustic yarn. So it's interesting to feel the differences between the two as I switch between projects. But I enjoy both of them equally. Honestly, I do. So yeah, this is Lichen and lace yarn. The colorway is Beach Glass. And I'm alternating skeins. I am not doing the helical method because of the textured stitches. I know, and I cannot remember which podcast it was. It may have been Fleece and Harmony, where someone had asked, or someone had told somebody that you can actually do the helical method with other stitches. It just takes a little bit more thoughtfulness, I guess. You have to, I didn't read the process, so I don't know exactly, but I'm guessing you have to remember which stitches you're going to come back to and have to do whatever specialty stitch on those stitches you would need to do. And I don't have the brain space for that right now. So I just keep alternating at the beginning of the round. And because the beginning of the round, sorry, where is my beginning of the round? Oh yes, where are the markers? My beginning of the round is right here in between the cable and the honeycomb. There's like actually some seed stitch in there. You can't see where I'm alternating. It's not making a noticeable line or anything like that, even though on the inside, you can see that line right down here. But yeah, it's not showing up on the outside, so I'm fine with it. And it's simple. So yeah, and I mentioned, I think it was in my last episode, that I'm doing cable knitting without a cable needle for the first time. It's going very smoothly. Have had no issues since I mastered the technique on my third attempt of restarting. So yeah, that's been going well. I really enjoy it. That's the Soiree. So I think that is it for all of my finished objects and works in progress. But I thought what I would do, because a few things have come to light recently, is just take a few minutes and just do kind of like a wear and tell segment. So I have 3 items that I've been wearing, and I just wanted to mention how they're holding up. So I'll start with the sweater. The sweater, as I mentioned, I finished it in March of last year. I didn't really start wearing it until the fall. So I've been wearing it pretty regularly since then. I would say I've worn it at least 30 times, I would say. And it is holding up beautifully. Now this is a single ply, 100% merino wool. The yarn is by Tennis Fibre Arts, which is a Canadian yarn dyer. And I thought for sure it was going to pill, but there's like virtually no pilling. Like, it's holding up beautifully. I did mention that when I washed and blocked it, it grew significantly. Again, it's a superwash yarn, and it's also, the sweater is knit up in garter. Like the background behind the honeycombs is garter. So, I mean, it's kind of expected that I guess it would stretch quite a bit. So it did do that. But like I said, the wear of it has been amazing. So I'm pretty impressed with that. Okay, so moving on to, I'll do these in order of when I made them, I guess. So I knit these sieve socks last year. These are these pretty cabled socks. The pattern was from one of the Lichen magazines. Again, everything will be linked down below. And I knit these up out of Malabrigo sock, I believe it was called. And if I remember correctly, I don't think it actually has any nylon in it. I think it's just a it's just a high twist 100% wool. Okay, so you can see there's been some fading. Now I've worn these a lot as well. I really like them. And then this week I noticed, sorry, they're grubby. Oh, okay, this one has 2 holes in it. And then the other one, the matching one, has a hole as well. And that all happened within this past week. So I don't even know, honestly, if it's worth fixing them, because I feel like without some form of kind of stable thread in there, whether it's nylon or mohair or something, silk, something else, I just feel like it's just going to keep happening. And you can see how worn out bottoms are. Like, it's just going to keep happening. So I think I've learned a lesson here, and I probably will not knit with Malabrigo sock for socks again. So yeah, so that's that. And then the final one, which is the one that I literally just finished making in January, are my cabled slippers. Okay, so truth be told, I've been wearing them every single day. Like every single day. They've been keeping my feet so warm, and they're so cozy, and I love them to death. But as expected, I got a hole this week in one, and the other one is definitely wearing through. And you can see the colors all wearing off on the bottom. So this yarn was a Knit Picks Muse, I think it was called, and it is 100% merino. So kind of new, right? I kind of guessed it wasn't going to last super long. It just, I had it in my stash for quite a while, and I just wanted to use it up. And I don't have that many patterns for super bulky, I think it was. Oh no, it was Aran weight. Yeah, Aran weight. But anyways, yeah, so these are pretty much toast. Now I guess a few solutions may be possible here. In retrospect, I mentioned how I really liked the seed stitch at the bottom, and how it stopped me from sliding, and it provided that cushion, which is great. But I'm wondering if maybe sewing on some kind of a leather sole or something like that would have helped, because And maybe not, I don't know, because your feet would still be rubbing on the inside. I'm not sure if it would have stopped the hole. It is 100% merino. That's not meant for socks. So it's my own bad. But I just thought I would give you guys an update on how things went. So these were finished January 2nd, and they didn't even last 2 months. January to February, February to March. Nope. Not even 2 months of wear. I'm definitely going to remake this pattern though. It was great, and it was a quick knit. I just have to do it out of something a little more appropriate. So yeah, there you go. That is my wear and tell for today. Yeah, if you have any questions or anything about anything I've mentioned in the podcast, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. I don't have any acquisitions today. So I think what we'll do is I will give you the skill testing question for the giveaway. So the question is, how many cats do I have? So you can put the answer down below in the comments. I would also like you to tell me, this is your prompt, tell me about a failed make that you've had. Because, you know, misery loves company. Yeah, so if you can answer the how many cats do I have and give me information about a failed make that you've experienced, I will enter you in a draw for the giveaway for a free pattern from Ravelry, and I'll do the draw with a random number picker like I usually do, and I'll announce it on the next podcast. So you have 3 weeks. And I think what I'll also do is at the end of this podcast is I'm going to put in a slideshow like I did last podcast of some of the makes that are being made for the Around the World Make Along 2021, because there's some fabulous things being made, and I want to show them off. So now I'll just move into some of the chit chat, non-making talk, and daily life stuff. So there hasn't been too much going on. In Sudbury, we've just come out of lockdown, which has been great because that has allowed me to finally get skates for my daughter. Got some yesterday, so we're finally going to get to go skating. And she broke her glasses during lockdown, and we couldn't get them fixed. So now I'm able to get them fixed, so that's great too. Yeah, so my bullet journals finally arrived, and I've started keeping track of some of the healthy habits that I want to get myself into. So some of those are just drinking more water, being more active, so walking, doing yoga, things like that, and as well as reading. So that's kind of something that I feel has fallen by the wayside due to my knitting. So it seems like every free moment that I have, I'm knitting. And I really miss reading. I loved reading. So it's embarrassing. I finish reading 1 to 2 books a year, average, since I started knitting every day. So I'm really trying to make an effort to read every day now. So with that, I did finish, last year I finished The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, and then I promptly started Testaments, which is kind of the continuation of The Handmaid's Tale. And I finished that, I think it was last week. So yeah, I started it last summer, put it down, hadn't picked it up. I got like halfway through and then hadn't picked it up until recently, and then just cruised through it. It finally got interesting. I found it was very slow at the beginning. It wasn't until about that halfway mark in the book where I found things started to actually pick up and I piqued my interest, and then I couldn't put it down. So it was, yeah, I would give it a 3 out of 5, just because it took so long to get into it. Like if I were one of those people who just, you know, gave up on books, probably would have gave up a long time ago. So I don't know, but it kind of left me wanting more. Like I feel like there's so much more to the story that could be told. And I have not watched the Handmaid's Tale series. I think it's on Netflix. I haven't watched it, so I don't know if they get into more of like the society and how things kind of came to be the way that they are. I'd really like to know more about that. I found that part really, really lacking in detail. But quite interesting in concept. So yeah. So now I've picked back up, again, I put both books I was reading last year down. I picked back up The Skin We're In by Desmond Cole, which is a book that spans, I think, the entire year of 2017, and it speaks about Black resistance and power in Canada. So it goes month by month, and there's always like a different story for that month. It's been a big eye-opener for me. I feel like in Canada, we tend to want to think that racism doesn't exist here, which is completely and utterly untrue. And I feel like it's been a really great book. I'm about halfway through now, and yeah, it's an eye-opener for sure. Which is sad because we should be aware of these things, right? And yeah, white privilege, you know how it goes. But anyways, I do recommend the book. I haven't finished it yet, but so far it's been great. And next up, I have a couple books. I have a whole bookshelf of books that I need to be reading. But next up, I think I'm going to switch to another fiction book. And I think it's going to be Son of a Trickster, which is by, I think it's Eden Robinson. Is that right? Did I pull that name out of my head for no reason? I don't know. I'll put the name below. But yeah, it was a Canada Reads recommended book a few years back, and I had purchased it and just had never read it. So I think that's next up. And so I've been, like I mentioned, I've been trying to be more active. I go for walks every lunch hour. I'm working from home. I take half an hour and go for a walk around the neighborhood. And it's been really cold here. It finally warmed up, I think, yesterday, where we were, in the minus single digits. But before that, with wind chill, it's been minus 30 something every single day. And I have to say that knits are a godsend, because if it weren't for my, trying to remember the names of I have a hat and a cowl that match, that I made out of natural yew, mohair, and cashmerino. And they are so warm, like so warm. And I wear them every day on my walk, along with my snow pants. Yes, I wear snow pants because my legs were getting so cold. But yeah, those and wool mitts. And I'm set. As long as I'm bundled up, I'm good to go. And I go for my walk, and I've been really trying to listen for birds, because I am excited for spring, so I can't wait to start hearing some of the spring birds return. I haven't heard any yet. It's still, it's February here and we have lots of snow. But I did hear some starlings in the trees out front, which sounded so lovely. And of course, chickadees. And haven't seen much wildlife. We're downtown Sudbury, so there's not a ton of wildlife around here, although we do have some green spaces that I kind of try and walk by on my walk. But I did discover, and those of you who follow me on Instagram may have seen it because I posted it in my stories, but this amazing snow sculpture of this penguin and fox. And I had walked by this place, this house, right outside someone's house. I had walked by it several times on my walks, because I do kind of change up my my route, but every once in a while I pass the same houses. So I had seen a guy out there kind of making these, I thought it was going to be a snow fort. It was just a big wall. And I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. It's almost as tall as the house or whatever. And then a few days later, I walked by again and I saw that he was carving faces. And I'm like, oh, they looked like monsters or something. I didn't clue in that they were actually like animals, because they weren't done yet, right? And then I walked by and was pleasantly surprised one day when I discovered that he had colored them with, I don't know if he just used food coloring and water and just sprayed it, but it looks amazing. Anyways, I'm going to pop in a picture so you can see what I'm talking about, but it was pretty cool. And obviously it took him quite a while to make. And yeah, he deserves some props. So you never know what you're going to find on your little daily walks. Yeah, and other than that, yeah, not much else is going on. We've just come out of lockdown, praying that the numbers of COVID cases stay low, and we don't really do much anyways. Like we're just trying to stay away until vaccinations come into play here. None of us have received vaccinations yet. So yeah, so I think that is it. As I mentioned, I'm going to pop in a video at the end showcasing the makes from the make along. And yeah, if you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of my future videos, and leave a comment down below to enter the giveaway, or just ask any questions or what have you. I love interacting with you all. So yeah, until then, I'll see you guys in 3 weeks, and I hope you have a wonderful 3 weeks. Bye.
Il y a si longtemps déjà, j'ai oublié comment. Tant de mots, de moments, pensés depuis longtemps. Devant ce mur muet, faut chercher autrement. Des photos